Hey guys, in today's video we will be talking once again about Tropical Storm Ida. It has really intensified as of this morning. Just last night it was a 40-mile-per-hour tropical storm, and now it is a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm, so it is now a much stronger tropical storm with the pressure now down to 996 millibars and moving northwest at 15 miles per hour, so it's gained a little bit of speed since last night. Invest 98L looks like it may become our next named storm, which would be Julian, and then 97L's chances of development have gone down a bit, so it doesn't look as likely to become our anything really. So of course we'll have to watch it, but it's looking like its chances of development into a tropical system have gone down a little bit. Now, let's really talk about Ida. So, Ida has now its new forecast cone. It is forecast to make landfall in southeastern Louisiana as a major hurricane, as a 115-mile-per-hour Category 3 hurricane. Hurricane watches are up for the entire coastline of Louisiana, as well as the entire coastline of Mississippi and half of Alabama's coastline, with Mobile under a tropical storm watch. Tropical storm warnings are up for the western part of Cuba, and it looks like the center will likely go over the western part of Cuba before it enters the Gulf. And once it's in the Gulf of Mexico, it will likely rapidly intensify because of the loop current that is currently going through the center of the Gulf. And that will feed lots of moisture into the storm and ocean heat content, so the storm will likely rapidly intensify from that. And then it will have as well very warm sea surface temperatures to feed off of after that point up through landfall. So it likely will continue to strengthen all the way up through landfall. Major hurricane again is forecast, and again we all figured that it will likely become a major hurricane once it's in the Gulf, especially. Now, let's show you the wind speed probabilities, tropical storm force wind probabilities, pretty much up to 100% for southeastern Louisiana. New Orleans is under an 80 to 90% chance of tropical storm force winds. So, people living in New Orleans, I really do advise you to evacuate because this system looks like it's going to be really bad. So please, if you are in New Orleans, definitely evacuate because you do not want to take any chances trying to ride the storm out. It's looking like it will become very dangerous. 50-knot wind speed probabilities, a little bit down, but again, still a likelihood in southeastern Louisiana. Again, New Orleans is around that 50% chance of 50-knot winds. Hurricane wind speed probabilities a good bit down because, again, this storm is still not a hurricane, but once it does, the wind speeds, especially once it's in the Gulf, it will increase a good bit. But again, southeastern Louisiana, that seems to be the bullseye once again for hurricane force wind speeds because that is where it will likely make landfall at this point. Arrival time of the winds now, it looks like it will be. It looks like it will actually, the earliest reasonable arrival time, not when it will make landfall, but the earliest reasonable arrival time of tropical storm force winds will arrive in southeastern Louisiana around 8-9 p.m. tomorrow evening. So you definitely want to make sure you have all of your supplies in place. Definitely want to make sure, honestly, you evacuate before tomorrow evening. So that is pretty much your window of time, pretty much all of today and all of tomorrow to make sure you are fully prepared or ready to leave and go somewhere safer away from this storm. Now, let's look at the rainfall and flash flooding potential afterwards, and then we'll show you the storm surge, because the storm surge is also extremely concerning. That is going to be a big, big problem. That's actually what I'm most scared about with this storm, the storm surge potential. Now, the rainfall potential as well, a lot of rainfall, especially in New Orleans. New Orleans around 10 to 15 inches. New Orleans is just north to this little pink bubble of 15 to 20 inches of rainfall, so this will be a very wet system. This will drop a lot of rainfall, it looks like, and definitely a lot of storm surge. And because of this heavy rainfall, flash flooding is very much a likelihood. New Orleans is within the moderate risk of flash flooding, 20% chance. And then Lake Charles is in the marginal risk, 5% chance of flash flooding. And then Jackson, Mobile under the slight risk of flash flooding. But again, if you're within these chances for flash flooding, make sure you are prepared for flash flooding nonetheless, no matter if you're in the marginal, slight, or moderate risk. Of course, you're in the moderate risk, you have the highest likelihood of flash flooding. But even if you're in the marginal risk, like in Lake Charles, please prepare for potentially, again, ponding on the roads. Some roads might still get flooded, so please prepare for potential flooding. It doesn't matter where you are within that. Now, storm surge. Here we go. Storm surge. High storm surge amounts forecast 7 to 11 feet in all of southwestern Louisiana's coastline. Lake Pontchartrain 4 to 6 feet of storm surge, and that will cause lots of problems. And then Lake Martapas is 3 to 5 feet of storm surge. So, New Orleans area, again, please evacuate because the storm surge amounts are extremely high. Honestly, New Orleans truly might get flooded. That is definitely not something you would want to stick around for because, again, remember Katrina. Honestly, of course, you're like, oh my God, you're comparing it to Katrina, but seriously, that's how serious this storm is. Katrina, again, caused New Orleans to completely flood. Now, of course, that was, again, 20 plus feet of storm surge, 25 plus feet of storm surge, in fact. But again, this storm looks like it could produce really high amounts of storm surge. I don't know if it'll get to Katrina level, but still, you don't want to stick around to find out. I promise you that. The rest of southeastern Louisiana, the rest of Louisiana's coastline, 2 to 4 feet of storm surge towards the Lake Charles area, 4 to 7 feet of storm surge in towards Vermilion Bay. And then, as well, 4 to 7 feet of storm surge for Mississippi's coastline, 3 to 5 feet of storm surge for Alabama's coastline, as well into Mobile Bay. So again, the storm surge, again, like I said, very, very real threat, and that is the thing I'm most scared about with the system. Of course, there is storm surge watches and warning, or just storm surge watches currently for, again, all of for all of Louisiana, particularly southeastern Louisiana, of course, and then Mississippi and Alabama's coastlines. Now, the storm surge inundation, that'll be very key to show you guys. Look at this. Some areas, storm surge, again, the blue is greater than 1 foot above ground. Yellow is greater than 3 feet above ground. Orange is greater than 6 feet above ground. And there's even some reds in there of greater than 9 feet above ground. So storm surge potentials could max this out. So again, this is a really real threat, a true threat here for this storm. Again, New Orleans, Lake Pontchartrain, this other bay, I forget the name already, but again, New Orleans, you definitely want to evacuate. People living in New Orleans, please evacuate because this storm looks like it will cause a lot of problems, especially water-wise, in that area. Let's go to Tropical Tidbits and show you the aircraft recon. A new aircraft recon, a new NOAA aircraft is heading into Ida now. The Air Force recon that is in Ida currently is finding winds all the way up towards around 50 to 55 knots. They found a suspect one up towards between 55 to 60 knots. But again, the storm is gaining strength. It looks like it is definitely strengthening. And you can see that even here, while it was heading through the center, 997 millibars was the pressure that they found going through initially. We'll see what the pressure they found soon, the new pressure they found soon going through the center again. But again, you can see that northeast quadrant, the strongest winds by far, of course, between 64 to 83 knots. That is definitely concerning. We shall see what happens. So again, this is definitely a storm that we are going to pay very close attention to as we continue throughout the rest of this week into the weekend. Here's what it looks like, satellite imagery. So much healthier even than yesterday. The center, for sure, is completely covered by very tall cloud tops, negative 70, negative 80, even some negative 90 degree cloud tops. Definitely getting that kind of classic look of it's really strengthening, starting to wrap all of the strong convection around the center. And definitely wouldn't be surprised, again, later today, especially I think tonight, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets upgraded to a hurricane. So, yeah, that's, I think, how fast this storm is strengthening and how well defined the system already looks. So, yeah, I think it will continue to strengthen throughout the rest of the day. I would not be surprised if it gets upgraded to a hurricane by tonight. So, again, rapidly intensifying. We keep saying rapidly intensifying. It's rapidly intensifying. And it will really start to rapidly intensify, especially once it gets into the Gulf of Mexico. So, again, people in Louisiana, New Orleans in particular, please evacuate, because you do not want to stick around for if the storm comes ashore stronger than forecast, which is definitely a very real possibility. Do not assume that the storm will just come ashore as a 115 mile per hour Category 3 hurricane as forecast right now. It likely could it could become much stronger and could landfall as a much stronger storm. So we really need to pay very, very close attention to that. Let's show you the models. First, we'll show you the GFS model, and then we'll show you the European, the Canadian model, and then the HWRF and HMON models. Those are the two main hurricane models. First, the GFS model. We bring this forward in time. It goes over very western Cuba, enters the Gulf, and continues to strengthen. It's just going to continue to strengthen from here on out, but it will start to really strengthen once it's in the Gulf. And you can see that here. Really starts to strengthen as it heads towards southeastern Louisiana, makes landfall. New Orleans, again, looks to be either on the eastern side of the center, which, again, has the strongest winds and very, very heavy rainfall, and definitely the strongest push for storm surge. So that's why they are a very, very real threat of flash flooding, flooding in general, and definitely strong winds. And then, of course, even if the center comes ashore right over them, that will still cause lots of problems. That's what Zeta did, in fact, last season. So, again, this storm could even be a bit stronger than Zeta. To put that in perspective for you guys living in New Orleans, this storm definitely could be stronger than Zeta coming through. So, again, make sure you have those hurricane plans in place. Evacuate if you need to, and I definitely think you need to. So please find somewhere to evacuate to that's safe, and please just go ahead and evacuate there. So again, this storm is looking very, very dangerous. The European model for Ida, again, strengthening a lot before landfall. Looks like the models are forecasting it to make landfall around central Louisiana now, a little bit further to the west than a bit yesterday, but again, that would still mean southeastern Louisiana is in the bullseye for the strongest winds, strongest push of storm surge, very, very heavy rainfall. So big problems lie ahead for southeastern Louisiana in particular, it seems. The Canadian model. Let's switch this back to MSLP and Precip. We move this forward in time, crosses Cuba, strengthens all the way to landfall. The Canadian model definitely shows us the weakest out of the three main models, but again, it goes and makes landfall in southeastern Louisiana. Southeastern Louisiana, I keep saying it, definitely looks like the bullseye for landfall now from Ida. So please, people living in southeastern Louisiana, obviously New Orleans, please evacuate, because this storm is, again, definitely not a storm you want to hang around for. Let's show you the hurricane models. First, we'll show you the HWRF model. And again, it crosses Cuba, it continues to strengthen, gets into the Gulf, really strengthens, and it looks like it could even get down to around 940 millibars as it's making landfall in central to southeastern Louisiana, which again would put New Orleans, southeastern Louisiana as a whole, under the threat for the strongest winds, the strongest push of storm surge, heavy rainfall. And then again, as well, actually, in fact, as well, we can't downplay this either. The threat of tornadoes, waterspouts, very definitely a real threat if you're especially along that eastern side, especially the northeastern quadrant of the storm. That threat of tornadoes definitely is a threat there, a very real threat if you're in the northeastern quadrant of the storm. Now here's the HMON model. Crosses Cuba, gets into the Gulf, strengthens a lot. Gets it down into the 940s as well, just like the HWRF. The HWRF does have it a bit stronger, down all the way to 940 millibars. This has it getting down to 947 millibars, but again, 947 millibars, 940 millibars, either way, a very, very strong storm, and makes landfall again in central southeastern Louisiana. That is a huge problem for rainfall, flooding, storm surge flooding, especially winds. Big problems for this storm. This storm is looking bad, you guys. So again, New Orleans in particular, make sure you guys evacuate. But then again, as well, people living in coastal Mississippi, coastal Alabama, make sure you're prepared for storm surge flooding, rainfall flooding, strong winds, power outages. Power outages, of course, very real threat with this storm as well. So again, make sure you guys have generators. Generators, big thing. Definitely make sure you guys have generators. Flooding, if you guys can, please to make sure you have as many sandbags as possible. That is a big thing down there in the deep south, southeast. I know that. Make sure you guys have those sandbags ready to guard your house from that flooding. So again, this season has already been quite active. Looks like we may be facing our strongest storm yet. Of course, we had Grace. Our first major hurricane already was a strong Category 3 hurricane that made landfall at peak intensity in mainland Mexico as at a 125 mile per hour Category 3 hurricane with its minimum pressure at peak intensity at 962 millibars. We've already had 9 total depressions, 9 named storms, 3 hurricanes, 1 major hurricane. Again, Ida likely will become our 4th major hurricane pretty soon, and then, of course, our 2nd major hurricane within the next day or two. Total fatalities thus far this season at 60. Total damage is now at $2.021 billion in damage. The damage total continues to go up. And of course, Ida will likely cause lots of damage and honestly has already killed 20 people in Venezuela from the precursor. It wasn't even named yet, and it had already killed 20 people in Venezuela. That's how crazy the storm has been already. The ACE value so far this season is now 31.7 units, and Ida will continue to produce ACE and will continue to get that ACE value up to make the season more active. And of course, the models are already forecasting more named storms to potentially form behind Ida. Of course, we still have those 2 other disturbances in the Atlantic that the National Hurricane Center is monitoring. 98L, Invest 98L looks like the highest chance now between 97 and 98L to form into our next named storm, which again would be Julian, the J-named storm. Again, if the season gets so active that we end up running out of names in the conventional naming list, we would use the new approved 21 name auxiliary list that has another set of 21 names that are able to be retired. But again, I don't think it'll be that active. Of course, we'll see. Of course, my official forecast now is at 20 named storms, 9 hurricanes, 5 major hurricanes. So again, I am forecasting us to get pretty close to the end of the conventional naming list, so we shall see what happens. Now, again, Ida is now a strong tropical storm, and we will see it likely continue to intensify a lot. Grace has caused now $330 million in damage. Ida has killed 20 people indirectly in Venezuela. Damage, again, is still unknown. It's still going on. Once it fully dissipates, we will eventually see how much damage it causes. But it likely will cause a lot of damage, particularly, again, in Louisiana and the Gulf Coast, and the central Gulf Coast there. So, again, this storm is looking really bad, you guys, and I will continue to keep you guys updated as we move through the rest of the weekend and into early next week as the storm makes landfall and the impacts it will likely bring, which will likely be devastating. Now, again, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you found it informative, helpful, please consider liking the video down below. Comment down below what you guys think Ida will do, when you guys think it may become a hurricane, how strong you guys may think it will get, especially in the Gulf. And yeah, let's have a nice lively discussion about that down in the comment section. Get a respectful one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do consider subscribing. If you like this kind of content especially, please consider subscribing. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.